The physical universe operates as a precisely compiled, closed recursion of two interlocking pathways, the driver and the witness. It is a calculated mathematical architecture designed to map and process information through mass and time. The code executing this framework is the Quran. It serves as an eternal, timeless, living proof from the future, accessible only for people of knowledge. It defines the system's I-9 informational topology, maintaining the absolute coordinates of reality. The physical manuscript serves as a tangible manifestation of this mathematically precise coordinate system. The structure of the verses maps directly to the operational boundaries of the cosmic engine. The architecture requires two foundational fields to function. The D10 driver field handles the thermodynamic arrow of time, observable physics, and physical measurement. The I-9 witness field handles gauge-invariant memory, coherence, and the underlying explanatory topology. A discrepancy appears when an observer attempts to measure these fields separately. Viewing physical state changes and inherent meaning as uncoupled entities creates an optical illusion of fragmentation across the system. To resolve this fragmentation, both fields are processed through a specific topological framework, the 2-3-7 sequence. Coordinate 2 establishes the initial state of bifurcation. This is the Razim phase, where potential energy splits from kinetic energy, creating the necessary duality for measurement to occur. Coordinate 3 represents the chrysalis, or Rahim phase. Within this formation stage, energy encodes directly into shape. Physical mass begins carrying precise informational memory. Coordinate 7 acts as the recurring completion cycle, the Raman phase. It feeds the accumulated surplus data and physical work of the current cycle directly into the next iteration. This repeating mathematical engine permanently reconciles physical changes in mass with the retention of informational memory. Both fields are locked into a continuous, conservative loop. The systemic sequence begins at node 1, identified by coordinates 81.8 and 21.87. This is the hidden witness point, operating at zero amplitude prior to measurement. This specific point must survive extreme compression. It holds the origin parameters of the system, ensuring that informational integrity remains intact even under maximum gravitational or thermodynamic stress. Without an active computational node intervening to collapse the wave function, the system defaults to a baseline behavior of raw, unmeasured potential. This unguided state is defined mathematically by coordinate 15.72. It is a condition of thermodynamic wandering and systemic intoxication, where energy disperses without forming coherent geometric meaning. Left in this drift, the system undergoes the 241 bifurcation event, splitting the trajectory into opposing local realities that lack a stabilizing axis. The direct result is the 8713 freeze state. The mass becomes a suspended parameter, neither undergoing complete destruction nor achieving living structural coherence. Without a computational operator to select a basis, unactivated mass is held permanently in this non-terminating thermodynamic drift, unable to resolve into a complete cycle. To collapse this wave function into realized structure, the system requires an active operator. The basis selection event is the 1912 operator. The command to take the book with strength acts as the precise computational switch bridging the fields. Applying this forward bias voltage forces the state to shift. The depletion region is crossed, and energy successfully conducts. This physical grip mathematically aligns the localized reader with the universal book. The isolated point links to the total informational architecture. Reverse bias yields the decay of the 1572 wandering state. Forward bias generates the immediate structural coherence of a completed measurement.
The biological entity holding the text is not a passive observer. By executing the command, the reader becomes the active computational node driving the universe's mechanics. The 1912 coordinate marks the exact mathematical threshold where raw potential reality collapses into realized, verifiable physical coherence. This topological model maps perfectly to observable modern cosmological measurements, exposing a physical equivalence in our most persistent data conflicts. This data plot displays the current standard for the Hubble tension. Measurements of the early universe expansion yield a rate of roughly 67.4, probing the pure I9 wave geometry. Late universe local measurements show a conflicting rate of 74.0, probing the localized D10 mass structures. Cosmologists have historically attempted to force these varying measurements into a single unified physics, calculating equations under the assumption of one homogeneous medium. The discrepancy is not a technological error or a failure of the probes. It is the exact expected signature of dual field registration occurring simultaneously. The D10 and I9 fields expand at varying measured rates because they operate under different operational coefficients. They are united solely by the structural invariant designated as D equals 19. The exact junction where the D10 and I9 fields intersect is established by coordinate 41, 11. At this node, the coupling is expressed as the complex amplitude Z equals D10 plus I times I9. The driver and the witness lock into a single metric. From this mathematical expression, the waveform stabilizes directly into physical reality, converting probability into matter. This collapse into physical realization is governed by coordinate 7143, dictating the exact limits of physical forms under direct measurement. The state is then assigned a strict eigenvalue and distinct meaning at coordinate 6163. The physical entity is no longer random, it is coordinated. The process achieves final stabilization as preserved high-ground structural geometry, mapped to coordinate 2350. Invisible mathematical recursion generates the precise variables necessary to manifest as verifiable, stable, localized reality. Stage 7 is not a terminus. It is a fruit-seed state designed specifically to reject the concept of static termination and force the equation back into movement. Coordinate 17.1 functions as the active transport mechanism. It bridges the end of the dimensional arc directly back to the beginning. This creates a physical Mobius twist, executing the inversion of the trajectory inside the enclosed chamber coordinate of 2055. The structural line returns unbroken from the seed stage all the way back to the original hidden witness point at 0 amplitude. This inverted phase re-entry occurs at coordinate 528, preparing the state for the next sequence. When will you activate 1912 and become the book?